Welcome to 37% Unplayed. We're a bunch of nerds involved in the video game industry talking about video games and game design. On average, 37% of Steam games in a user's library have never been played, and we want to get a chance to play them. We're going to be focused on playing and reviewing games in a format similar to book clubs. Once a month, we'll get together to discuss the past month's game, what we liked, what we disliked, design decisions that really stood out to us, or that we wish had been fleshed out further, and anything else along the way. Today, we're talking about Battle Chef Brigade, created by Trinket Studios and published by Adult Swim Games.
Yeah, we play a video game.
Like we do, on occasion.
We're going to try today to talk about what this video game is before we, delve into the video game.
No, let's just talk about it. Let's just not do that.
Yeah, I thought we were supposed to do that halfway through. That's our thing.
Do you want to run through the
since you played the game.
So, Battle Chef Brigade is a mix between kind of a match 3 game and kind of a fighter or brawler.
Match 3 puzzle game.
Match 3 puzzle game. Where you go out and hunt ingredients, which you then add to your pots and are able to combine to level them up, which increases the point value of the dish. You also have to worry about things like the special ingredient or elemental typings, which the judge will have preferences for. So it adds a level of complexity to the whole thing.
Yep, there's also story. You have one main character, and then you have a secondary character that you play for part of it. And it's like a real love story to Japanese Iron Chef, which was my favorite thing about it.
So you could see the parallels.
I feel like if you really like Japanese Iron Chef, you will like this game.
There's so much in there.
It's so good.
Yeah. So one of my favorite things they do, so each match you do, you get a new judge, and sometimes they come back. But each of the judge, we can get into characters later, but each of them has their own character, and they are all based on Japan Iron Chef judge characters, which if you're not used to...
I did not know that, yeah.
Well, and if you're not used to... And the dub specifically. So the way that the Japan Iron Chef dub worked is they had maybe 6 or 8 people, but they all chose about 3 different characters that they would, or 3 of the different people there that they would voice, and they all did such a great job of it. Especially later, they end up capturing kind of their shittiness to one another, which is really good. Especially the Fukui-san, who is the annoying guy that goes and puts mics in front of the chef's face and asks them stuff. Every actor there hates him, and they just put such great spice into how they're talking. Yeah, what is it, Fukui-san? And we're going back to Fukui-san. Fukui-san, he's like, I just talked to Iron Chef Morimoto, and he told me to go away. It's so good. But the Earth Judge, particularly, the way she pontificates at you, she's like, I want you to feel the essence of Earth. Breathe across your dish. And they'll say bullshit, flowery bullshit like that. That's so good.
That's awesome.
Thoroughly enjoyable, yeah.
I'm a little sad I haven't watched more of that then.
I feel like I could have gotten a lot more out of this.
Yeah, watch them on YouTube. They're super fun, and they're they take themselves so seriously, even though it's absurd, and it's great. There's so many little plots and threads. I highly recommend Japan Iron Chef.
Japanese Iron Chef is just I love it. It's good.
Yeah.
So I think you actually touched on something that I really want to talk about, which is the characters in the game, and honestly the story and the writing, kind of in general as well. I thought that was one of the best parts of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I legitimately felt sad when she got pulled out of the competition, and I legitimately felt happy for her when they allowed her to go back.
I super wasn't expecting that as a plot point either.
To get taken out.
Yeah,
or
to
go
get
back.
taken out.
Yeah.
And I also wondered at first if that was something that I did on accident, because I fought Shiv first thing. Mm-hmm. So I was like, oh, did that choice mean something? It didn't. But I still thought it was really fun. And yeah, I think the characters are the best part of this game.
For sure.
Away.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Everyone has a voice and fun flavor to them. The designs are all really good and distinct.
Yeah.
Thrash and his wife, I love everything that they do.
I know, I love Thrash and his wife so much. It's so good.
Yeah.
He loves his wife so much.
He does, yeah.
And it's sweet.
Yeah, it's surprising because when you hear that a game is like a sort of like a hybrid match 3 puzzle game, like you don't anticipate like narrative and characterization being
right.
super strong elements.
You're like, oh, this is just going to be another match 3 game. Okay, whatever. I guess I'll play it.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be super straightforward with what it was. It was just be like, okay, you're going to play against these 7 people, and then you're going to have some little thing after that.
Yeah.
Really, played around with it. It was fun.
I also really enjoyed the way that the animals sort of interacted with each other in 2 ways. Like, it felt like it fleshed out the world the way that, you know, sometimes an animal would eat the little bird thing and then it would grow wings because it ate the bird thing, or you'd feed the bird thing and then it would have an egg or something. But it was cool because it added a layer of complexity to the gameplay, but it was also just cool world building by itself.
Yeah, I agree with that 100% as well.
And it was just fun to go through and, like, discover what those interactions were.
It's funny, the match 3/battle game has more ambient life interactions than a lot of mainstream games have.
It's true, yeah.
There's so much. Like,
It's also a lot smaller of a game so that they can do things like that, like add personality to it.
Fair, but I mean, like, they have the little oozes in the cave area that turn
Oh yeah,
food
there
into
are
blue
actually
stuff.
more
and-
than 2. Like,
Yeah.
there's probably like 4 or 5, which I mean sounds like not a lot, but it's a solid number for the relatively limited world that you're working with.
Or just to scale. Like, that game has significant number of interactions by scale.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that said, I think they really kind of fall down on the animation. I think they have I think they have an amazing foundation. Like, the foundation is so good. The poses are great.
Yep.
The little that they do is amazing, but it's so bare bones.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, I think her like just idle animation is on like 5s. So that means like
That probably
a
means
drawing.
something.
It means a drawing every 5 frames, which when you have 24 frames or like 60 frames a second, it's not a lot. Like, you can really see just the single
Okay, rather than
drawings.
being fluid
Yeah,
animation.
rather than being this really
Does
fluid
that-
thing when there's like a drawing every like 2 frames or 3, 4, like even 3 would have been like.
Again,
Yeah.
coming from someone that's not an artist, is that a stylistic choice or is that just something that they like could have done?
I'm not sure.
It definitely, to me, it felt like a stylistic choice, but I feel like they should have leaned into it harder or gone into the more fluid animation. Like, make it more choppy, but use less frames to fit in with the hand-drawn, like, simplistic style, or actually go through and make it fluid. Because, like Ryan is saying, the key frames and the poses, the weight and the balance was amazing.
Yeah.
And I either wanted to see that followed through or, like, leaned into that style a little more.
Yeah, I think so. I agree entirely with what you're saying. I don't know personally whether this one was an instance of they made this choice or this was what they did. But I think that if it was an active decision, Sarah's right, they should have really just committed to that decision and really pushed it. Because right now, to me, it looks like it was a mistake rather than an intention.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's not a decision too, because they don't animate any of the other characters like when you're fighting them. So they're just a picture, and they'll just rotate, and then they'll move off screen, and they don't have them walk or anything like that. They just go, which is like, again, for an indie studio, that's fine. You gotta put your work where you gotta put your work.
And also,
but it took me out of it.
it doesn't bother me to make the decision to do just poses.
Oh yeah, that would have been
Like,
fine too.
well, once again, it comes down to intention.
Yeah,
Like, if that's what you want to do for your art, fine, cool. Do it and do it well.
yeah. What's the animation term? That's like consistency.
Consistent quality.
Yeah, consistent quality. Yeah, it just doesn't have it. It's
Yeah.
it's got some focus in some places, and then like just it is not done in others, and that's probably a time thing.
Yeah.
Where just like we have 20 characters, we can't animate all of them, but like it really stands out on occasion where it's just like
Like at
flip.
the start of the battle.
Yeah, start of the battle,
noticed that.
flip, and they just kind of
Yeah.
like translate off screen, and that's that.
But I think I would prefer this over to having some things more polished and some things not polished at all.
The problem, though, is right now they do have some things polished and some things not polished at all.
That's true. But
Like, they're all at different levels of polish, which is, at least for me, the problem. Because what I want, like I said, it's a consistency thing.
yep.
Either do all poses, which is a fine and valid choice, or do animations. Don't give me some animations and some poses.
Yeah.
Because you're saying that feels basically disjointed in
Well,
quality.
that feels like it's not a decision. So, like I said, it's an intention-based thing.
It also draws attention to itself when you
Yeah.
have that. If you have a consistent level of quality, whether it's
Even if
better
it's
or
bad,
worse, then it's consistent. You can't
If
see this
everyone
kind
was
of...
just flipping, it didn't have a walk animation.
Yeah,
You'd just be like, oh, okay, that's what this is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the hanging chad or loose board or sticking out nail. You kind of get caught on it every now and then. Kind of catches you.
So what about mechanics? Honestly, their combat system felt super, specifically for Mina, felt super fluid to me. I felt like I was always able to combo into something, and that, to me, just felt amazing.
I liked Mina a lot. I did not like Thrash.
Agreed.
Yeah, but so I like that Thrash felt different. He felt
He did.
like an orc.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I didn't like that
Yeah.
he felt like an orc.
And again, and this is just I wish we had more. But
Yeah.
I wish we had 3 other characters.
Yep.
All the characters.
I
Yeah,
really
because
wanted to play Ziggy.
Yeah,
He was
Real
so
bad.
great.
He's
I
the
could
best.
see
I
that.
love Ziggy
Yeah.
so much.
fucking
He's ready.
necromancer ghost.
Right.
Yeah, possessed corpse,
So good.
basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's so good.
And they already had kind of like a
Yeah.
Thrash type thing
Ghost
where he
chef.
could shift into a skeletal thing. They could have used that
Yeah.
as part of his combat as well.
I feel like they had plans for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I was looking at their website, and they for the main cast, they had all their weapons and their attack styles, and for,
and then their ages and races.
yeah.
and
Well,
stuff.
for Kieran, they show her wings occasionally,
Yeah.
and it feels oh yeah, and
Yeah.
she gives you the winged boots,
Yep.
which let you double jump. It feels like they had a whole play style planned
Yep.
out for them. That would have been awesome to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of story, I think that's what came across really well too, is that even though we're only getting this kind of subsection of what characters were able to actually play with and do stuff with, they seem to heavily imply that they were thinking about their world as a whole,
Yeah.
Yes.
not just the current act.
It is very planned.
It's very well done.
And
Well built.
where they can use that, you get a lot of cool things, with the dwarf guy and Pontita, and their little relationship that builds as you go. There's
Romance subplot.
yeah, well, there is shit potential for this game on all fronts. There are so many characters that'll sit there and just say something about another character that is just a little oh, I want to bone this person or lady bone this person. There is all over the place. There's one I ran across one character. I was just oh, I'll chat with you, and she's like, "Where's Shiv? Where'd she go?" And they're like, "I don't know where she went." It's oh, I was hoping to cook with her or some
to challenge
there
her,
was
right?
I really wanted
There
to
was some
get a chance to
innuendo.
talk to her.
yeah, get a chance to talk to her.
Good game.
What was everyone's loadout?
Oh, yeah, that was something I was going to ask.
Ah.
So, for Mina, I actually really liked having just a main normal cook pan for match 3 combo when I could. And then I did, so I felt like this game, I don't know what it was exactly, but I felt like I could always anticipate what the flavors of the judges were going to
I
be.
felt that way too.
And so I could, for my other 2 things, I used the match 2, either fire or water or grass, and then earth, and then I would mix those up depending on what I thought the next thing was going to be.
Yep.
And I think I always got it right except for once.
Yeah.
Oh,
And-
interesting.
And even that time, I just used those 2 match 2s that I had and made a super good thing with it.
I was really impressed because I also was able to guess what they were going to do each time, and I was just amazed by that. I don't know if it was just the simplicity in ingredients or just some really clever design pushing. Because I have no idea.
Maybe. I had the
how they
exact
did it.
opposite
Oh, yeah.
experience. I could not guess for the life of me what pot I was going to use. So typically, if I ended up struggling or failing a zone, that's when I would use those specific pots to really help out the specific flavors that were coming.
And I want to say that despite me being able to have figured it out, I do wish that they would have let you select your loadout after you had learned what the
I
thing
agree.
was.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't really understand why they didn't.
Yeah.
I assume because they made failure super
Super non-impactful.
Yes.
Impactful, which
Yeah,
I
which
think
means-
was a good
And you do
choice.
get to change your loadout if you fail.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you can't go back to the store unless you actually quit out of the game.
Yes.
Which I don't like.
I would agree with Paul. I actually did the same thing. I'd always keep the match 3 pan, and then I would choose 2 of the elemental cookers. And yeah, for the better part, I think I missed it twice or something. And then, at least for the combat loadout, I like stun daggers. Stun daggers are good.
Stun daggers are amazing.
Flaming stun daggers are even better.
Stun daggers are good.
I did stun down air because again I comboed like hell. So I would go in / knock them up, stun them with a down air, do the down and Y, which was teleport behind them, do a couple more slashes, knock them up, and combos all the way.
And see, I was real shit at the combat, especially when it came to fighting the dragon. Oh my god, I
Dragon
died
is
so
hard.
many times
Yeah.
to the dragon.
The dragon just takes patience because you just stand on that little tusk like
I
that.
don't have time for this. I got dishes to cook.
And you
Yeah.
stand at the edge and he can't hit you.
couldn't do it.
Or you do down attack.
Yep.
No,
You
so
can
the,
just bounce on him.
the thing
I
with the
didn't
dragon
realize
is
that.
you use that thing that I was saying, which is, I think, down and Y, which teleports you behind him. So he'll turn. I think, like, every once in a while he'll get a hit in on you because of, like, turn and slash right away.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then he turns, you use that, you go behind him, and then he does all of his attacks in one direction. So you do a bunch of slashes while he's doing that, and then he'll turn again, you teleport behind him.
If
For
you're
whatever
good
reason,
at
I just
advanced
couldn't get
combat,
Couldn't
if
get
you're
the
me, you
timing
just
on that.
bounce on his head.
Or
Right,
Yeah,
I
you
just
just
I
cheese
invested
him.
in
Yeah.
HP and satchel slots.
Yes,
Yeah,
satchel
slots are
Forever.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I
do you-
did so much dodge.
And
Yeah.
I like the
was
double
my-
jump.
Dodge
Double jump.
faster. So
Excellent.
I dodged everywhere.
I also picked up the ability that let me damage when I dodged through something.
Oh.
and that was
nice.
so good. Because I could just, like, knock them down a bit, dodge through them, and get their stuff.
So I don't think I ever dodged intentionally. And though I watched Allie today play it, which like was obviously
I
after I
finally
had
beat the
played it.
game today.
Nice.
She taught me that you can air dodge, which I did not know was a thing.
Yeah.
It's
I use it
nice
to get
being right,
places
yes.
that I don't quite reach.
That was
Exactly.
like my biggest problem with Thrash is I've gone from this character who's
I
like
know.
dodge, dash,
Nimble.
dodge, and then you're like, hi, I'm a big heavy orc.
Yeah.
And the guard was cool when you pulled it off, but I almost never did that.
Oh,
Like,
Same
no,
thing, never
no.
used it.
I
And,
forgot
like,
it almost immediately after playing it.
Oh, I remember none of the act. Like I constantly was like, how do I whirlwind? And I'm just gonna throw daggers, daggers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So cooking strategies with Thrash. So I don't know if you guys use different ones, but I actually with Thrash I went 100% double down on all fire stuff.
Well,
So
it
I-
helped that all the judges were almost
Almost.
always
It's true.
Because
fire.
that's how they
always
start
is.
him off,
Yep.
is mostly fire. But, like, I just took that to the next level, and I went, like, I don't think I actually went for what the judges wanted when doing that. I was just
More
like,
fire.
all fire, here's an all fire dish.
Give me my plus 50.
For, yeah, he's got all this stuff for
Yeah.
bonus fire, and this does this with fire, and so it's like, there you go.
The thing that I went in with that helped me be successful in these different trials was I comboed the expertise for the vegetarian stuff
Yep,
for all
also
the
did.
vegetable stuffs except for the main ingredient, which is like the weirdest definition of vegetarianism ever. But it works. Plus the orchid blossom you can pick up that levels up your little gem things if you pick up a fruit or vegetable. And that like saved my ass so many times.
So, yeah, that was similar to me. So, like, my loadout was a basic pan, like the level up of the match 3.
Yeah, the like combo.
Yeah,
pan.
the like combo pan, which I rarely use the combo portion of it.
Yeah.
I kept forgetting it existed.
And then either one of the elemental pans or the cutting board,
yeah,
and
cutting board.
then the slow cooker.
Oh yeah, I went.
Slow cooker was my god.
Slow cookers
Yes,
are
Yeah.
great.
I went slow cooker. Like I started out doing all the elemental pans, and then I got the slow cooker and cutting board, and I immediately switched to doing combo pan,
Yeah.
slow cooker, cutting board, and that is all I've
It's so
used
good. Yeah.
as Mina for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't use the cutting board as much as I wanted to, but I love it because it just lets you edit yourself.
Yes.
Which is so important. Like when you
It's so
want to
good.
throw more stuff into a dish. And for the slow cooker, at the start of our match, I just be like, oh, someone wants this? Drop 8 of like their flavor into it and
Yep.
just turn it on and go
Yep,
hunting.
exactly.
Yeah.
It saved my ass with some of the judges when you would have multiple judges. Though there were a couple times where I had 3 judges and I focused on 2 of the judges and then turned into like a 21
Yep.
point plate.
Yep.
And then my other plates were worth like 400 points and it didn't even matter.
I also like how normal mode will like weigh itself for you in that too, where it's just like, oh yeah, you're doing good, or like your other person's like doing good along with you, and then at the end they'll be like, oh yeah, I also did really good, but I forgot the ingredient. Lose half their points. And it's like, oh well, I guess that's good because I presented the 13-point dish.
I
For
think
that.
they do that whether or not you actually do good. Because I
Really?
did
Yeah.
well, and they still like, I forgot this thing in there.
Okay, because like for watching me playing and watching Christina play, especially like when she'd rematch, or I would rematch, it would be like they would be so much.
So
So
I
rematch
felt the
makes it easier
rematches.
for rematches.
Rematches
Got easier.
absolutely, they do worse on the rematch than they did on the
but I can also,
Thank God.
but I've
which
also,
is good.
but I've also seen it without
somewhere the
rematch.
impression
Okay,
that
good.
Sarah might have struggled a little bit on this game.
I struggled so much, you guys.
So-
I,
Did you get through it? Did you finish?
I didn't finish it. I got
Okay.
up to the point where you start playing as Thrash.
Gotcha.
That was where I initially stopped because they took away my speed.
Yeah.
I was like, nope, I'm out.
The story stuff with Thrash is good, but man,
Oh, yeah.
play like it was a slog getting through.
I think my biggest problem with this game, personally for me, is that I don't like to just sit and play match 3 games.
Yeah.
I want to play like 4 rounds of a match 3 game, like when I'm in a waiting room. Mm-hmm. Or on a bus.
Which...
With the Switch, you can totally
exactly.
do.
That's all I was going to say.
Except for I'm unemployed and so I don't go anywhere. Because I'm sad. So I wanted to play it for like an hour and then be done with it for a while. Not because it was a bad game at all, because like it's fun. It's just, that is how I am towards match 3 games. And so I really wish, I've been doing a thing where I've been putting the games off towards nearer to the end of the month before we record, so that it's fresh in my mind. But I really shouldn't have done that with this, because if I had started at the beginning of the month, I wouldn't have been this morning before I started our kickoff.
I feel it.
Doing the finale again, because I had to rebuy a bunch of equipment. Because I guess the biggest cheese way to get through most competitions, vegetarian, plus 5 of an ingredient.
Oh, I
You
believe
just give it
that.
lots of vegetables.
So you put 5 of a vegetarian ingredient in it, cut out the ones you don't want, throw it in the slow cooker, repeat,
Heck yeah.
repeat, and then you get a bonus 125 points at the end for each dish.
I like it.
It's great.
Speaking about cutting stuff off, or out of the dish, I saw that you were, like, cutting out everything from it except the main ingredient, at least on this fight, and I was wondering if you knew that you could, like, leave in other ones.
So the reason I was doing that specifically for that fight is because I didn't want to waste the slow cooker's time promoting gems I didn't care about.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So you'll notice I didn't do that once I got to the point where I wasn't sticking it back in the slow cooker.
I see.
It was purely because I was like, okay, I need water gems. I don't care about fire gems at all for this judge because she only wants water. Mm-hmm. So I'll just cut out everything else, stick it in the slow cooker. Then it will only spend time promoting the water gems instead of wasting time on these fire gems I don't care about.
How did you guys feel about the addition of the poison stuff later?
It was so stressful.
So yeah, I felt like it definitely made it harder, but I felt like that was a good ramp up in difficulty. That said, I probably found it more fun when I didn't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I just cut the poisons out.
Me too! High five!
You could also combine 3 poisons to make a
combo.
It's an upgrade,
And if
yeah.
I were playing on hard mode where I actually needed higher points, I might have done that.
At least for me, I always seem to cheese it, like the poison mushrooms that have the 2 green and then the poison. So I'd use a single pot for that and shift the poison off to the left and then destroy it on itself where it wouldn't detonate any of the other gems.
Yeah,
and then so I'd end up with a column of level 3 gems in the first 2 slots, and when it was full, move it to another pot and do it again until I had 2 of them, then would merge them. And I kind of did stuff like that all over the place. Like, for instance, during the finale, I was having a hard time getting enough points. What I ended up doing was just using the lantern fruit. It's like a bunch of level 2 slots. And I had the fire combination pan, but it's, earth, fire, water. So for the fire one, done easy. For the water one, it was the same thing, and then I just sauced it for water and kicked it out again. And it was just like,
That was
it's kind of cheesy.
All of Thrash's battles.
Yeah.
Everything Thrash was just, I brought the ones, the sauce, and then all the maps have treasure boxes.
Yep.
You can get other sauces. Or the one time I needed a water sauce because the treasure box didn't have it is the level with the cheap cheese, and you can get eggs as blue sauce.
Yep.
And so I just was like, make everything fire, put all the fire things into the fire pot, let it slow cook into 1,000,000 fire gems, and then make sure I leave 4, and then just turn the others into whatever color I need, and so then I get my bonus points for doing fire, plus my bonus, plus like 1,000,000 of all of these gems.
Yep.
I also feel like your approach isn't like super cheesing it, Frank, because I feel like that's kind of one of their intentions is you can then take that poison and use it to like get rid of stuff you don't want, or like put off to the side and kill it. Yeah, like there was a ton of times where I was like, I don't need these like 3 blue gems, kill them and then like get them out. It was really nice. Like I didn't understand that at first. I thought it was just like a difficulty thing, but yeah, I thought that was a neat extra thing that ended up getting built in that mechanic was another way to edit yourself.
Yeah,
Yep.
I think it works well. Like both from a combo perspective and from, like you said, an editing yourself perspective. It's just the way I approached the playstyle of, I have a cutting board.
Yep.
I don't want this. Go on. It takes like 3 clicks and you're done.
And I would always do that whenever I had the cutting board.
So one of the big things I want to talk about is, did anyone after or before they played, did anyone do, like, challenge, there were 2 things, daily cook-offs and challenge mode?
I did a couple of daily cook-offs.
No.
I took a look at each of them, and it was just like, okay.
Yeah, so honestly, their challenge mode, I felt like, was so bare bones that they shouldn't even have done anything with it. So for those of you that didn't play it, there was basically more Pantita's restaurant stuff,
So
but they only
match
had
the
like
combinations.
1 or 2. Yeah, it was either normal or hard. So that was it. That was your choice. So it's not like you could do a bunch of different ones.
Yep.
And then they had something that was completely new, which is like target attack. So if you've ever played like the original Smash Bros or whatever,
Yeah.
they had like they give you a level and then they put certain targets in there and you just go through it and you attack those targets and it's the timed thing.
See, that sounds awesome.
Sounds
Yeah.
cool. They had 2 different levels. That's what I'm saying is they did such little with it that I feel like they honestly should have just cut it.
Because I love those
I-
target attacks in Smash, and that sounds
It's
so.
it's cool
it
if
sounds
they had
like
a
it would
bunch
be
of them,
perfect,
right?
yeah,
like,
yeah.
but just 2. Like they had 1 Thrash and 1 Mina, and that was it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
But so what I was thinking is, so Daily Cook-Off I think is meant to be their like PvP type mode because they actually have a leaderboard and all that. So that was actually kind of cool. But I really wish they did some sort of multiplayer,
Same.
either local or online.
Like, all I want is to be able to crush my friends. This weird
At
mastery
cooking, like you did today.
No, we tied to do
Oh,
it.
that's true.
tied.
Okay.
For everyone that didn't see our Twitter 2 months ago, I challenged Allie to a cook-off in honor of Battle Chef Brigade.
And it was fantastic.
It was delicious.
Battle pair.
Yes, Battle Pair. Preferably Asian pair, as Frank, our local chairman, decided.
Well-
If everyone doesn't know what Frank looks like, he basically
Just
looks like the
imagine Chairman Common.
Yeah.
Like
And,
almost exactly.
but less flamboyantly dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah, not his clothes, but what he actually looks
Yeah,
like.
if he got a glitter shirt, he would be exactly the same.
We are really, really trying to encourage him to get to do a Chairman Common costume.
It would be great.
But sorry, going back to multiplayer stuff, unless you had more.
Oh, Allie and I did we actually IRL cooked dishes off, and we both did 3 dishes, and we ended up tying.
Yes.
Is like the most baffling end that I actually expected.
Still don't think. Like,
It's
how's that
weird.
even
We
possible?
recounted everything.
Math.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
but,
Through the
like,
power of friendship, everybody tied.
Oh no,
happy.
Sarah, I think you misunderstood. I am not friends with Ryan.
My bad.
As we all know, only 2 things that exist between a man and a woman.
That is what Metal Gear Solid 3 taught us.
Yeah.
So I hate you.
Love and hate. Yeah.
Important lessons from video games, my friends.
Anyway, what were you
So
going to
yeah,
say, Paul?
multiplayer. Like, I feel like they could have, like, I know multiplayer programming is, like, a whole other level of stuff.
Yes.
Or specifically online. But I feel like they could have kind of cheesed it almost, or, like, done a simple thing.
Yeah,
of,
they
like,
just need to set a timer for both
Yeah, so,
systems
like-
and then let them essentially asynchronously do it because it's
Yeah.
not going to be in the same battle arena.
So yeah, you could even keep both players as left player and show the other as right with the whole move off the screen thing, and then have them do the thing. And the only extra thing you would need for that is if one player says "I'm done," you need like a waiting for other player screen or something to let them know, you're not doing anything while they finish their dishes. And then you go to like the final screen and you say this player got. I mean, you could do the whole presentation. But it's like, this player got this much, this player got this much. All right, player A wins.
I feel like it needs the presentation because that's what I want most.
Sure. Okay.
I want the judges telling me how much better I am.
Still, though, that's not like a hard thing. That's just they say a line and then they have a number, and they have all those lines written because they did it as part of the other stuff. So.
And while I think that bare bones version, it would be pretty easy to implement, and they should have it because that is one of the big things. Is
it begs for it.
I'm really surprised it isn't there.
Some sort of like infinite play thing.
Yeah, I think what they would want out of it is again more characters, more like you get to come in, do like a fighting game style thing, and play against your friends that way.
Sure, that'd be great, but that'd also be a lot more work.
It would,
yeah,
but I think that's kind of
feels like
what
that's
they want.
Yeah, it feels like that's what they wanted this to be.
Battle Chef Brigade too.
Yeah, like I would play a Battle Chef Brigade too.
Yeah.
I also feel like they kind of hinted at a Battle Chef
Yeah.
too, with Rixel.
Oh yeah, because he just.
It's like, I was doing it for the greater good. That was left unexplained. So,
Well, I mean, it's sort of explained in that he said he was doing it to try and cure the monster plague.
but they never really explained the monster plague. Like,
True.
yeah, it's just like there's a monster
It's
plague.
the thing that
Well,
Yeah.
it's the monster plague of delicious things that move around.
It's just, that's just. I don't. If that's what they were intending, it's just like your whole society is built off eating this stuff and making it delicious. It's a weird thing to want to end.
Cows started attacking
So,
us.
the monster plague came from the Dark Realm.
Yeah.
But he introduced it.
Not
He-
the monsters. Well, no. So he introduced it into local monster populations.
Yes.
He was trying. It existed already in the Dark Realm. It wasn't like he invented it. At least how I understood it was, it existed already in the Dark Realm, and part of the reason most of the Dark Realm portals are sealed off is so that it couldn't infect the regular populace. And then he infected the regular populace ostensibly to cure it permanently, presumably in the Dark Realm.
Oh, weird.
But it was a little vague.
Yeah, that was weird.
And, like, maybe not explain the best, and maybe I'm just being really generous in my interpretation of it, which is possible.
That makes sense for what they were probably intending, but man, that did not read.
It was clear to me, but once again, I'm over here with story, like, being weird.
It's okay. Part of their main narrative was Thrash doing a chef battle with people that stole the things he needed to cure his wife on a small timeline instead of just
I really just
fighting
wanted
them or
to punch
taking-
those people.
Yeah, right?
Like, right in the face.
So.
I loved them. I thought they were amazing.
Oh my god. Yeah.
I hated them.
I got so angry with them.
Like,
They were all... They sure had their stick.
They did. But I loved it. Hey, I can appreciate a person who's really committed to their shtick.
True actors. True actors. They were committed.
I still think that one of my, like, as weird as it is, one of my favorite moments in that game is when Thorn makes you, when she finds out that, you know, she knows you're dealing with the Scowl Heart, whatever, bandits. She makes you a level of just Scowls for you to fight as Thrash. And I'm like, this is like
I didn't
the
catch that.
weirdest,
That's great.
sweet thing you've done. She's like, here, this might make you feel better. And she throws you into the level the cloud level that normally has like 2 or 3 Scowls in it, and all of the monsters are Scowls, and that's your hunting challenge.
Did not notice that at all.
This is really weirdly sweet of you.
I did like that Thorn, as soon as she realized that Thrash, like, had an orc weapon, she was like, oh, you're my buddy. And, like, suddenly had a very different relationship with him than she did with Mina. She really just did not give a fuck.
She just wanted to get back together with her girlfriend.
She did, yeah.
Like, that is all she cared about.
Yeah.
Who was everyone's favorite character?
Oh,
Thorn.
God.
Thorn was
Loved
absolutely
her. Loved her to
Yeah.
pieces.
Ziggy, and I also really enjoyed Belchior.
Belchior was good. I like that all of his cats were named after cheeses.
Yeah.
Right?
But I hated his place. Because those fucking cats sit there and meow whenever you're in his place doing those goddamn
Oh,
things.
that drove your dog insane.
It drove me insane.
Okay.
And they're just real enough. It's like, is there a fucking cat outside? Like, it just
See,
drove me crazy.
that didn't bother me. The one I didn't like doing was Pontitas, because I did not like the tedium of make this gem pattern.
Yep.
Hers was my least favorite to do.
I liked
but
it,
his was-
except for when they give you a complicated pattern. I'm like, I don't wanna.
Yeah,
Like-
like, if it's simple, I'll do it, but
Yeah.
once it gets like 6 gems and they're like in weird diagonals, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this seems like actual effort.
So a lot of times, if not always, they could be completed in 2 moves. Even the complicated ones.
I
So-
believe
I
it,
believe
but I'm not that smart.
Fine.
And there was it's like, I cannot scan this fast and, like, break this apart.
I also like that one gave you more money depending on how
well you did.
Yeah. Like, I usually did okay
But
at it.
Yeah.
I also towards the end was like, come on.
Yeah,
another
and that
one.
was the big thing. It wasn't that I minded doing it a few times. It was that I had to do it so many times. And I'm like, I don't love this. I don't feel like it's super good practice for what I'm doing, because what I'm normally doing isn't make a weird pattern and it's match 3.
I feel like the skill it was trying to reinforce was learning
move
how to
things.
manipulate them and
Yeah.
move them
Yeah.
around, right?
And
But I
to
guess
kind
I
of
just didn't
recognize
really
those patterns.
super struggle with that, so I don't know.
One thing I also like about Belchior's things is how they teach you all the different things
Yeah.
that
That
you
was
go
my
through.
favorite part.
Yeah.
And specifically, like, I liked on day 1, I got a bunch of money, and I wasn't sure what to buy. And then on day 2, Belchior's thing is, here's those elemental pots as part of my challenge. And so
Yep.
it's like, oh, I get this. Okay, those are those. Okay, I'm gonna buy those.
Yeah. Usually you always had a challenge with Belchior before you were able to buy the thing, which was
I think was
a
really
nice
great.
way of introducing the player to it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But yeah, I liked Thorn a lot, but my favorite was Ziggy.
Ziggy was really good.
So he was really good.
I also just really, really loved Thrash's relationship with Ardia.
Artie
his
was,
wife.
yeah. They really like Thrash and
They're really
Artie,
cute together.
Yeah.
You know who I would have liked to have seen more of, though, is the girl with the teapot robot.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's there for like
Girl.
1 or maybe 2
Quetzal,
things.
I love.
Yeah.
Yep.
Quetzal was
I was
great.
like,
Quetzal is 100% my aesthetics.
you seem,
Yeah, this is Allie.
you seem like you could be very interesting, and you have a deep and interesting past with your
I
weird
felt
robot
like that
friend.
for almost all of them.
Weird
Like,
multicolored girl with a robot friend?
Yeah.
Sign me up!
I wanted more with Shiv.
Yeah.
Because it seemed
Yeah.
like there was a lot going on with Shiv at the beginning.
And then she's just kind of, you're over here now.
Yeah. She didn't even
I expected to hate Weiss, I think his name was.
Oh, yeah.
Who was that one?
He was the one you cut in line. It was super
Oh,
angry at
yeah.
it. And then he gives you like an actually super useful item that's hilarious to use. Did you guys ever use it?
No.
was it?
but-
Oh my god! So he gives you a
Oh, that's the revival one, right?
yeah, he gives you a
Yeah.
signed photo of him that gives you a free revive.
Yeah.
And the only time it was useful at all to me was during the challenge with the knight. With knife.
Which one? Okay, yeah.
At the beginning of the like set of 3.
That one's hard.
She was the only one I struggled with.
Same.
The other 2 I face rolled.
Yeah.
But mostly it was just I spent time killing the dragon because it has so much
I know.
HP.
Yeah.
But so it was the only time I used it because I would get really low health fighting the dragon and then run back and die on the way back, and then the cheap cheese would steal my stuff. But so
That's what they're there for.
so I equipped the photo, and when it uses it, he pops it on the side of your screen and makes a kiss noise and like hearts.
That's amazing.
So good.
I regret not using
I
this.
got that in the daily challenge, but I never like used it. So
Yeah.
oh, that's so good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
No, I loved it. It was, wait, you get stuff from the daily challenge?
Yeah. So on the daily challenges,
Yeah,
they give
quote,
you
unquote.
set items.
Oh, okay.
So it's just like, okay, do this with what we're giving you.
Oh, and then you. Sorry, yeah, that's I guess a separate thing. But then there's also you get like cook XP when you do the daily challenge.
Yeah.
And so there's this bar of like how much have you played the daily challenge is effectively
Okay.
what it is.
Yeah.
I am
It's-
not an experienced cook.
It doesn't actually link to anything other than a tracker.
Yeah, it just shows there. But also, I guess that kind of brings into another small point that I had, which is there's no mode where you can.
Choose your own.
Yeah, you can't like. There's no quote unquote infinite play mode where you can choose your own loadout.
Yeah.
The daily challenge just gives you one,
Yeah.
and that. I
And
don't
there's
like that.
yeah, and there's also no mode like later where you can just do it without like the poison stuff.
Yeah.
And go back to just the fun simplicity of the
Yep.
match 3.
Yeah.
Because I think that could be a lot of fun. Getting
Yeah.
to choose your own loadout,
Yeah.
getting to choose your own
Which would be great
character.
in
Because like
multiplayer.
there was a lot of things that I didn't try. It was because like
Yeah.
this is what I'm already doing. Like I kind of already have a thing going on here.
Yeah,
I don't need
it's
to
going fine. I don't
introduce
really
anything
switch
else
up.
to it.
It winds up being what, like 15 total battles?
Yeah,
Something like
15,
that.
16.
Sounds about
Because you
right.
have to do 7 to get into the brigade, then there's the 3 to do the brigade, and then there's 4 thrash ones,
And then the finale.
and then the finale.
I
Yeah.
don't know exactly.
There's 4
But it
thrash
sounds
ones.
about right.
Yes, I think there's a couple more in Minas because you also get your like training one.
There's the couple
Yeah.
training ones. There's like 2 or 3 training. So there's like 15 to 20 challenges total,
Yeah,
which is a little unfortunate. Like,
I think it was like a good amount for their.
yeah,
For the, like,
so
plot,
I
but
think
I
for a
wanted more.
storyline,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a solid number. I think like the ability to have like an infinite play mode or
Yeah.
just a little bit more.
I totally agree.
A little bit more that you could choose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I found that after
Very
I
good.
finished the storyline, I was kind of uncompelled to play more. I was like, but I want
Same.
more of that.
Well, that's why I
part
went
of
from
that
the-
is that the challenge modes and stuff in the daily cook-off didn't seem that compelling to me when I looked at them.
Well, like I went to the daily challenge at first because I'm like, sweet, yeah, this will be where I get to like really play this game and do cool stuff with it. But it kind of left me wanting.
Yeah, like I feel like the actual story of the game and the like the characters and the main primary mechanics are all really, really, really solid in this game. I feel like where they fall down the most is on the peripherals.
Yeah.
The little, the challenge mode that just isn't
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
a challenge mode.
Sure.
The daily cook-off that's just kind of okay. The lack of a multiplayer mode.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is a pretty good place to be, right?
Exactly.
Like,
no,
your
it's a-
initial experience
it's
is like
a good place
solid,
to be.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mostly, it's like this is the sort of game that is like it is perfectly fine the way it is. But because it is as good as it is, the way it is,
Yeah.
I wanted more from it.
Definitely.
Like
Yep.
basically, you did so well that I've raised the bar on my expectations.
For sure.
Which I think is like the best thing you could want from
Yeah.
your game as well.
Yeah.
Put out just like, oh yeah, we gave you just enough to leave you wanting so
Whenever
much
you want,
more and
once.
like dreaming for so much more.
Like I think
Everybody's
this is the first
always-
game I've played for the podcast that I've been like, I would play a sequel to this,
oh,
everybody's-
like without
I would
hesitation.
agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's asking for seconds.
Get out.
Was there any character anyone didn't like?
I'm sure there was. I honestly didn't like the troupe of
The actors.
actors.
The
yeah.
actors.
I get that.
They just bothered me.
I didn't really like them either, but I think that was also
They were
because
goofy.
like I think they extended
They-
Thrash longer than I wanted.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, just give me these fucking hearts. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think they added a ton to the game.
Yeah.
The only time I felt that way a lot about them until you went back with Ardia. And Ardia... Oh, I guess there's 5 Thrash battles because I
Yeah,
forgot about
he
the
was
Ardia
also
one.
Ardia.
Which... Did anyone lose that one? Because I'm
I
curious...
did.
Do they let you keep it as a loss, or do you...
They don't let you ever keep anything as a loss.
I wanted to be able to keep that as a
I
loss.
wanted that all the time.
Yeah, that's actually a note I had. Is I wish they'd let the game fail forward. Of like, you lost, it's okay. Here's how it changes, or whatever.
I think there would
especially
be
since
and-
like the rules for entering the brigade would allow you to lose a
I
couple
know,
of times.
Right, yeah,
which is
yeah.
why I thought I could lose it.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
And I-
that's what I thought they would have done. That.
Yeah, I thought there was gonna be like there would have so much more tension, like so much more down the lines. Like I cannot lose this one.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
no.
they honestly only would have to change a few small things, right, to be
Yeah.
able to do that.
Yeah, the only big problem I would see with that is it becomes a lot more complex if you, say, fail to make it into the brigade.
Why?
Well,
Like-
at one point you do get sent out anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just like whether or not you see, you've
No.
graduated, quote
I
unquote,
guess
into
it's
the
a good
brigade.
Because
point.
there were characters that were brought back to do
That
the second
weren't part of
portion
it.
that failed out in
Exactly.
the first
See,
section.
like they could have just done that and like, you lose your first, 3? If you lose 3, you're out.
Yep.
So if you lose your first 3, then you don't get to do the other 2 or whatever part of that, and you just don't get into the brigade, but tweak a bit of the writing and then you're good.
Right, which my favorite moment about that whole brigade thing, like everyone remembers Wart, right? Where he's just like,
Yeah.
I only have one more loss left, I'm
And
not
his
gonna
first
make
year,
it.
yeah.
And he, like, at the very end when all the brigade cadets are, like, lined up, and he's in the back and he's crying because he made it and he got the win streak that he needed. Like, it just warmed my heart.
Yeah.
There's so much. Of
Yeah,
that.
I-
Like,
It's so good.
Yeah.
I want an anime of this game
Oh,
so
yeah.
bad.
Looping back to Ryan's earlier questions, I totally get why you guys didn't like the Skullheart Bandits. I really was kind of mad on them at best until the fight with Ardia, where they show up and they're like, "Hi, we're here and we're being just quirky and fun." And I'm like, "Okay, I'm
We're
down
gonna
with
be
this
your
now."
judges. Or,
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm down with this now.
Tackleberry!
yeah, I don't like
Like
Rexall. He's a bad villain.
it's really, really interesting that like so much of this game's story and characters is done well, and they have the least interesting possible villain ever.
You also see him
he
once.
shows
Yeah,
up.
he shows up once
Just
in
a-
Thrash's route, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like that is the only time you see him.
And he's just sitting there like talking to the shopkeeper.
And like,
Yep.
who cares? I was like, I'm playing through this game, and I'm like, I am surprised that there's no one that I'm like, this person is the villain.
Because he doesn't show up until
He's not
three
there.
quarters of the way
and then
through.
he shows up in Thrash's.
You know,
and I'm like, oh, okay, I found him.
I totally thought it was Armor Guy.
Armor
So
guy.
like they have
Who's Armor
one of
Guy?
in one of the matches. There's like a couple. There you have a couple judges,
Oh.
and one of them was Armor Guy, and is like, I have to leave.
The big
And I was
paladin, like,
yeah,
guy.
big paladin
Yeah.
guy who comes and
Oh, that's
arrests.
right.
Yeah, and he comes and he arrests Rixel at the end. But like when he left, I was like, oh, there's something going on with that fucker. Like there's a reason they would show me that he's just leaving randomly.
So I actually thought it was going to be Belchior, specifically because they had lines of the undead dude saying like, "Oh, Belchior is doing something weird. That's funny."
That
And,
would
like,
have been good.
They never did anything with that. I feel like he specifically says Belchior's thing. Oh, that's funny. And then I'm like, aha, something's going on here. And then I don't know why he even said that.
Maybe Belchior set it up all along.
Yeah, like, maybe.
We all got the false ending.
And like, I mean, he's the alchemist, so that would have made sense of like
Yeah.
he's tweaking some formula.
Spoilers,
or
it's
something.
Rixel.
I gathered. It's all good.
It's Rixel, that guy you never saw.
Yeah.
I feel like is it?
He shows up.
I don't think I ever saw him
He
until
shows
the
up in
very
Thrashes.
end.
Yeah,
I
he
did
shows
not
up as
notice him.
just an NPC floating around, and I think he's mentioned toward the end of Mina's
Yeah.
campaign arc.
Yeah, I think he's mentioned in passing. Like, he's... After the hearts get stolen, when you're looking for who stole the hearts, you can talk to him, and he's like, fuck off. I'm an actual member of the brigade. You're a nobody. I don't want to talk to you. And you're like, okay, rude, whatever.
Yep.
And then you can talk to the shopkeepers the next day, and they say something. They say something about how he's always saying that he's got requisitions from the brigade, but he never has any paperwork for it.
Yep.
I think I remember them saying that. But I wasn't sure who they were talking about.
That was the point where I was like, oh, okay. And then he shows up. So he shows up in Thrasher's route. Like, I think he might be mentioned once at the end of Mina's route.
Yeah,
I think maybe during letters when they were talking about people who are researching stuff to cure the
might be.
plague. And then he shows up again at the end, and that's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I wish we had gotten to know more about Knife, Fork, and Spoon.
yeah,
The,
they're
yeah, like the
interesting,
big
yeah.
three at the end.
Like, they seem like they... I mean, part of it is just that all the other characters are so interesting
Yeah.
Yep.
that, once again, it's a... Your bar is here, up here,
Yeah.
because you've done so well with everything else. Why are they not meeting this bar that I've arbitrarily set based off of the quality of the rest of your work?
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
kind of like the same feedback for the art thing, right? Like,
I was just like so impressed with just even the way that like and her family was like so well integrated.
Yeah.
It was great.
Good old overbearing mom and like I don't remember too much about the dad.
I heard her dad didn't get a ton
Yeah.
of development.
But like her relationship with her mom and her sister was really good.
Child
I like her
friends.
sister's
then-
boyfriend on the side.
Yeah,
Like,
he shows up once, and like even though he shows up that one time, you're like, okay, they talk about him, but you don't see him until you're like, until he shows up.
And then he
with
shows
them.
up, and you're like, yeah, that's what I would expect.
Yeah.
Feels about right.
And then childhood best friend, who
Yeah.
like when he leaves, I'm like, okay, whatever, dude. And he comes back with your family, and you're like,
Yeah.
oh, you're a really great dad.
Felt so good.
Yeah.
he's your buddy, and I like it.
Gabe just made me smile.
Yeah.
So good. Except for when I had to fight the dragon and then I was raging.
Did anyone actually not do every job every day? I assume they allow you to, right? Those are all
I
side things.
somehow missed one of Belchior's puzzle because I did not get the
Okay.
achievement for it. I don't know which one I
They
did,
do allow you
but
to not do them. I honestly was not sure if they were required or not.
There were points when I was tempted to skip Pontita,
Same.
But then you're like,
I was
I'll
like,
do it.
I was like, what if I need the money later? Even though I don't think after like the third day I was ever in a situation where I was like, I have no money.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Towards the end, I was like, I just have a bunch of money. I'm just gonna buy things just
Yeah.
in case there's an achievement or something.
I liked going to do the jobs just to talk to them and
Yeah,
like
like-
see more of their life.
That was the
Well,
only
it was-
reason I kept going back.
Yeah, it was more of a I don't want to do this again, but I want to see if Caesar and Pontita are actually like together now.
Yeah.
Right?
I always had fun doing thorns because it was just fun to
Thorns
go like
were fun,
run
yeah,
around.
because it's just go around and kill things.
Yeah.
You know I'm in on that. Just
It's fun.
I'm actually a little surprised that they didn't have that as part of their challenge mode, like a hunt challenge mode.
Like,
Not saying that it would have
Maybe.
made or broke anything,
Yeah.
but it was like it was one of these other mini games that they had for everything else. It was kind of surprising that they didn't make a.
yeah. Do you guys know? So I don't actually know the answer to this. That after every day or night they showed you like how many days or what day changes.
Mm-hmm.
Did that actually do anything?
I think it's just for story tracking
Yeah.
because Thrash's story takes place midway
Partway
through.
this, yeah.
So it's just a good way of essentially saying, this is where we are now.
That's fair. I honestly just thought they should have cut that too. I'm like, what are they even doing here?
It was also another nice way of like trying to convey how much time was passing.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it would
was
skip
more
a couple
than day,
days.
But sure.
I liked it. It
Yeah.
felt like it was a nice closure to the day and like start over again on the next day.
It
I like that you-
irrationally bothered me that I couldn't sit down and like I told people that I would write and then I like it never gave me the option to write.
Yeah, I was
And
like,
I'm
I
like-
want to write to my family.
I told them I would write. Why am I not writing?
You
Why
do
won't
like once.
let-
Yeah, press X to write, please.
I liked that every night you'd go and like lay down in your bed, and then it would like show you in your bed. It was just like a comfy
Yeah.
kind of like end of the day thing, especially because like both Thrash and Mina just like sleep bad, which is fun.
Thrash's doing that bothered me because like after the hearts got stolen,
Yes, it
they're
was just
like, well,
just
after
go
the heart-
sleep, Thrash.
Right, especially the second time.
Yeah, the second time
Oh
bothered
my
me so
God,
much because like
no.
they need to sit in a slow cooker overnight, and then
I'm going to
2
sleep on
days-
this slow
Yeah.
2
cooker.
days earlier, they were like, "Oh man, if only one of us had stayed up and
Yep.
kept an eye on them." And then the next 2 days later, they just don't. And
Yeah.
it's just-
Yeah. What are you thinking? What are you doing?
What do you guys feel about Kieran? Because she's kind of like the third main character.
I liked
Sure.
Kieran a lot.
She was the elf, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think she was, again, like a well thought out, good character.
She reminds me of Zelda so much.
Oh,
I
interesting.
don't know why. Like just in design. and,
Oh,
like,
okay.
I
yeah.
love her design.
Might be color
Yeah.
scheme.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's a huge part. Like just like the way she holds herself up, and like every time I see her, I'm just like, oh hi Zelda, hanging out.
Well, I mean, you know, she's the wisdom of the triangle.
She is.
What, you can't even argue for a moment that
Well,
Thrash
now
is
I'm
the
like,
strength
well,
and Mina is the courage.
Now I'm like seeing even more parallels because she's very Link, he's very Ganon.
Mine
Mm.
below.
Oh my god.
the Zelda timelines, you guys!
So
Might as well.
I saw Christina playing Thrash before I played him, and I just walked in and she had him like in Berserker mode, and I was just like, I guess Thrash gets evil powers at some point. And I was like, okay. Yeah.
I love that Thorn keeps saying he's Berserker mode, and he's like, it's not actually a Berserker rage, it's powered by love!
It's like,
Thrash, you are precious. I do genuinely love that they went that route with
Yeah.
Thrash, who is, you know, the big burly orc, who just, he
He
wants
just
to talk
cares
about
about-
how much he loves his wife and kids.
yeah, that's all he cares about, and yeah, he's even though he has this like ancient power that turns him black and red, he's still just like, I'm here for my wife and kids. And
Black and red, the colors of love.
Yeah, I do. The goth colors.
Love that game.
Yeah, it
I
was
do.
fun.
I texted so many people and just like, there's a game and you kill things and you cook them and it's a match 3 and I don't describe things great, but I love it and you should play it.
One of my D&D players is a chef.
A chef or a cook?
Chef.
Whoa.
I
You tell me that's like pretty high up.
I mean, chefs have to have specific training to be chefs. They don't just become chefs.
Yeah.
Like, you don't just wake up one
I'm
morning and
impressed
go,
now.
I'm a chef.
Yep.
But I was telling you about this game, and I'm like, you should play this game. You would love this game. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. It also somehow led me to Tumblr post about my new favorite idea for a cooking show, which is the judges give you a name for the dish, and you have to just prepare a dish that matches that name. Like,
Interesting, yeah.
they just make up a name, and then the judges are like, and the cooks have to make a dish that they feel fits that name.
Hydra tail souffle.
Yeah, like, sure.
Damn.
I really like that idea for a cooking show, and I would watch that cooking show. To be fair, I do not have a high bar for cooking shows. I love cooking shows.
I love my cooking trash.
Right?
Yeah, I really like this game on the Switch. I think it's perfect for just like picking it up and playing for like an hour or 30 minutes, and it's nice to just pick it up and like go and like have a good bedtime game with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the best platform to play it on, even if the control schemes are kind of wonky.
If only they switched all
I
of
don't
the
think
buttons.
the control scheme is necessarily wonky. I think it's just
It's Switch.
it's correct for the Switch.
Yeah.
Well, I just mispress things all the time,
Yep.
and like
Because you're thinking Xbox controller or something.
pretty much.
Or
Well,
I guess PS4 too.
I play most things on the Switch right now, and even then, it's just like, well, what am I doing? Okay.
I'm so used to the far right button being back and the down bottom button always being
Also
accept.
true.
So I noticed after playing Breath of the Wild a ton over here, I go and play like Shadow of War, and I'm now pressing the Switch buttons for it instead of this. And I'm like, no,
Yeah,
brain.
the only game I really play on the Switch other than this is Fire Emblem Warriors, which just uses the same control scheme as Dynasty Warriors. So I can't read any of the button prompts in Fire Emblem Warriors, or I get really, really confused because it's like, press Y to do this. I'm like, there is no Y button. there's no Y button on this. Oh wait, no, I'm not using a PS4 controller. Which one's the Y button? Why don't you just say square like a normal person?
Yeah, everyone go play Battle Chef Brigade.
Oh yeah, definitely. Go play it.
Super good.
So this month, I recommend Audacity. That's what we use to record the podcast, and that's also what I use for audio editing. So, yeah, it makes audio editing easy, I feel, for an audio editing program. It's free, and yeah, it's great.
I am going to recommend an episode of Japanese Iron Chef called the 20th Century Battle. And that's where there's a double header. You can find this on YouTube. It's got a really big battle between the most well-known chef, Sakai, who's the Iron Chef French, and he won most of his battle. He had like an 85% win streak, which is really high. And then he faces off against Kanagawa, who, in the history of Iron Chef, is this very staunch traditional Japanese chef that only believes in traditional Japanese cooking. And in the story of Iron Chef, he makes his own faction that is anti-Morimoto, the new Iron Chef, the third Iron Chef Japan that comes in, who brings in a lot of like international ideas into Japanese cooking. And he has this whole like battle against Morimoto where he brings in chefs that are going to take down this new wave Japanese guy. And it's hilarious.
Iron Chef, like traditional Japanese Iron
so
Chef, is way more intense than I think most people
Yeah.
realize.
It's so
There's
good.
like wrestling or something.
No, it's like they take it so seriously.
Oh, dang,
But
okay.
it's so silly, and they kind of know that as well. Even though it's like super serious, it just has all these like super fun stories in it. But yeah, he faces off against Sakai, and that's a really good match. And then there's the second match with Morimoto versus Bobby Flay. And this is a grudge match because Morimoto and Bobby Flay also had a match against each other in America, where Morimoto won, and Bobby Flay then went around on the media circuit and complained about how it was rigged, and like Morimoto was like a loser. And Morimoto also like talked out against Bobby Flay because Bobby Flay went and stand up on his cooking board, which in Japan is like a really offensive thing to do. Like, you don't, like, desecrate the place where you prepare the food. So that's also this really high-intensity match, which is super good. And most importantly, it has a moment in it where there's this little boy called Tommy, who is Morimoto's #1 fan. And Fukui-san goes up and is like, "Hey, Tommy, what is it that you love about Morimoto-san?" And Tommy looks at the camera, or looks at Fukui, and he says, "He's very good with knives." And that's it. And that's all I can ever think of when I think about Iron Chef Japan. So yeah, go watch the episode. It's on YouTube. It's super great. And you should just watch more Iron Chef Japan too. It's fun and a great time.
I'm stuck between, like, there's this anime that is somewhat related to Battle Chef Brigade and is a lot of fun, or, like, this is, like, the month of everybody being sick, and I was horrendously sick, and Alka-Seltzer fucking saved my life. Like,
I think that's your recommendation.
I don't think we're, like, committed to one recommendation.
I didn't know how hardcore it was, but yeah.
This isn't like your favorite game where you can never go back.
Yeah, no. Alka-Seltzer saved my life. I was horrendously sick, and that's all I could drink without, like, throwing up horrendously. So that was great.
No.
But no, this anime is called Toriko. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it. It's like crazy Dragon Ball Z style, but with food, where they go and fight these crazy monsters, and then they get the ingredients from these crazy monsters and cook them, and it's all about, like, these amazing dishes that they
played
make.
that game.
I don't think I've seen any of it.
Yeah, highly recommend Toriko. It's a good time.
All right.
Well, since it's getting a little drier out, well, by the time this podcast goes out, it'll be a little bit more dry.
It's March right now.
I'm going. It might be more dry, depending on where you're at. If you're in Arizona, it's always dry.
Oh god, it is.
So my recommendation this month is electric skateboards, because they are dangerously fun.
He's gonna break his neck one of these days.
It's probably true.
I'm gonna sound so old. On top of my recommendation for Alka-Seltzer, what the fuck is an electric skateboard?
So
I totally thought you were gonna say my other recommendation is helmets for safety.
I mean, also, yeah, but electric skateboards.
So electric skateboards, probably one of the most well-known brands is Boosted, and that's what I started on. It's a fantastic board, easy to use. It's got a hand throttle that allows you to accelerate forward, brake, and then eventually go into reverse depending on your speed. But essentially, it's a long board where one set of trucks is replaced by a set of electric servos and a battery pack. And you plug them in, you recharge them, and they're good for 30 to 45 minutes, depending on how fast you go. But they're a lot of fun to just kind of ride around. Just be sure to check your local laws to make sure you're not breaking any of them by riding them around on the street. But yeah.
Do you know
yes,
this from
helmets.
experience?
They're technically not regulated in Washington, so there's that.
There you have it.
But yes, helmets and pads. Some of these can go up to 25 miles an hour, and taking a spill
Really fast.
is not recommended.
Look out for pine cones.
They're dangerous, and the one that I hit was enormous.
It hit me.
It was as big as a head.
I am going to recommend sockdreams.com.
What is...
It is
What?
a website that you can buy socks on.
Okay.
All sorts of socks. I exclusively like tall socks because I am weird and because I am always cold and they help keep my legs warm. See earlier recommendations about fleece-lined leggings. But they have free shipping in the continental US, and they also have a store in Portland. And they are great, and I love them.
Apparently all of Allie's recommendations revolve around keeping legs warm.
You know the Team One sort of does.
Yeah.
It keeps you warm.
And you're keeping you warm.
I don't like to be cold,
Next
okay?
time's gonna be space heaters.
No, it'll be electric blankets.
Oh,
Thermal undies.
Buying new legs that are warm.
I mean, if it offends Ryan, I can come up with something different.
I'm a fan of cybernetic implants for legs. It's all for me.
built-in heating.
Also, for the record, butt warmers in cars, awful.
Yeah,
They are upsetting.
I thought you were going to recommend that for a
No,
minute.
I think it
Great.
depends on how
No.
cold it is. Yeah,
Nah.
because like in Phoenix, hell no. But like,
They're great when you sit down, and then they light your butt on fire.
They stop being great shortly after starting to be great.
Having grown up in a place where, yeah, there are, cold winters, no. Seat warmers are great. Also excellent if you want to keep a pizza warm.
Good to know.
Or any sort of carryout.
It's a good secondary use. Regardless of the temperature, my ass will be destroyed. Everything else will be cold, but my ass will be on
You
fire.
can just turn it off.
I know, but I don't want it. Turns itself on.
But then I always find that I'm turning it off and turning it back on again to get that like perfect butt
there's
temperature,
no-
and
there's
I'm
no,
just
like,
never
temperature-
satisfied.
There's no temperature control.
So, next month on 37% Unplayed, the recommended game is going to be Earthfall, which is a cooperative shooter for up to 4 players using team-based tactics to fortify holdouts and complete objectives. Players must work together to survive against aliens.
4 players.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna
Who
say, so
do we
this game-
hate?
I can sit out, but this game's actually multiplayer.
It is.
Unlike
It is.
Oh,
Battle
we're
Chef.
not gonna make you sit out.
That's what I just said.
It's cool.
playing
Paul and I can be a duo.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Wow, I guess
Way
Paul
to draw
and
the
Frank-
lines, guys!
Yeah, I guess Paul and Frank don't want to play with us.
I thought you meant we were gonna.
No, you apparently want to be a duo on your own. Fine, I'll play with Sarah and Ryan.
Anywho,
3 players.
it seems cool. It's an indie title. I got a couple of friends that are working on it, and I'm really excited for them, and I want to support them. And it's like already a game that's really outside what I would play, like multiplayer shooter with aliens. Usually not up my alley, so I'm gonna give it a shot.